Guys, tomorrow night, Rumble at the Ralston. I am Matt Bentley, and this is MMA Futures. I'm here with Dakota Cochrane. Dakota, tomorrow night, you're fighting Julian Lane, another Ultimate Fighter veteran like yourself. Yep. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what training camp's been like for you and kind of what your mindset's been, kind of how things have been going heading into this fight?
It's pretty much the same thing as every time I go in, I train hard. I'm really trying to work on, every aspect of my game. Boxing, that's kind of the big one for this one. He's a striker, so it's kind of was a big focus. But, I take it, one at a time, and I try to get better, in training any way I can.
Okay, so right now, 31-11, is that your record, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, so 31-11. Heading into your 43rd fight inside the cage, man. I mean, that's crazy at your age. Yeah. Okay, I remember we were fighting amateur shows together back in 2008, 2009, So that's a long time, a lot of fights in a short amount of time. Why don't you kind of tell me, like, what you see for yourself here coming up, or kind of what the plan is, or what you kind of hope for coming up in the near future, man?
Like I said, I take one at a time. I like to stay busy, obviously. I like that date, having that date, and that's kind of like a goal for me. So I'll train hard for that date. It really doesn't matter who the opponent is, the show. I like to have a date, and then I can tailor all my training towards that goal.
Sure, and another thing that should be said about Dakota, guys, is while he said the name doesn't really matter, he's looking for the date. Man, weight classes, you fought kind of all over the place, man. You've been at 55, 70, kind of just bouncing back and forth between the two. I mean, is 70 ultimately where you feel the best and where you feel you perform the best?
Yeah, I was at 55 for a long time, and then 70 is my home now. So I'm just too big. I'm too fat for 55 now.
All right, so you mentioned you're too fat for 55. So, is it a diet thing? Do you think what do you think it is?
Just over the years, lifting weights, you add lean mass, muscle mass, and probably a little fat too. But no, I feel like I'm finally filling out 70. I was definitely a small 170 when I started. I probably should have been a 55er, but definitely feel like I'm filling out and being an actual 70er now. So it's kind of nice.
Okay, so training out of Premier Combat Center, you guys have guys like Ryan Jensen, Derek Minner, Kevin Gray. I know you spent a lot of time with Jason Brills and stuff like that back in the day. What is training an atmosphere like that, or like for you? Kind of day in and day out.
We go in. It's kind of a daily grind. No matter what, I'll take a week off and then I get back to training, whether I have a fight or I don't. So if others have a fight, we're helping each other out, with training. So. That's something I like about our team. We help each other out no matter if we have a fight. We're there, we're training hard and pushing each other.
One thing I always like to ask, I've known you for a long time. I know you're a big family guy. How many kids do you have? You got 3 kids?
3 kids.
3 kids, yeah. So what do they do, day in and day out? I know that was always a big motivation for me, heading into a fight, or when I wanted to quit rounds, or I didn't want to run an extra mile on the treadmill. I mean, what kind of motivation does that bring to you in preparation for a fight?
I'm a sole provider for our family. My wife, she just started working again, so that's kind of nice. But, I work hard, and I try to instill that into my kids. And I'm really starting to notice that with my kids starting to get into sports. They just have a hard work ethic, and, I like to think that I helped them with that, and I've been a good example.
So, that being said, your kids are starting to get into sports. This is something I haven't asked a lot of dads, but I've thought about it myself. Having been a long-time combat sports veteran now, how would you feel at 16, 17 years old, one of your kids comes to you and say that, Dad, this is what I want to do for a living? Yeah,
it's been a thought in my mind. My son just started wrestling, so, maybe that might happen someday. But if that's truly something he wanted to do, I would definitely support it. My advice would just be, make sure you train all aspects of MMA, not just one thing. So if you're going to do it, put your whole heart into it.
All right, man, so one more question before we leave the crowd here at MMA Futures. If you could listen to one song from the 1990s, what would it be?
Oh, shit. I'm so bad with names. I don't even know. Honestly, I'm not good at this.
Okay, so we'll do this one. We'll make things a little easier on you.
Thank you.
If you could eat one breakfast cereal for the rest of your life, it would be?
Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles. Fred Flintstone, the Fruity Pebbles. Guys, we got Dakota Cochrane here. Tomorrow night, he fights Julian Lane. Rumble at the Ralston. Dynasty Combat Sports live on Fight TV. Thanks, bud.